In this video, we talk about Brook. Brook is one of the Straw Hats that I feel like has a lesser number of fans, which is a shame really, because I think that Brook is quite a lovable character. His personality is a lot like Sanji, but a bit more reserved. His quirks are weird, just like everybody else's, and he shows his manners but is very vulgar when it comes to farting and burping. I just love how he's being portrayed. It's contradictions all around. And Brook feels relatable because of that. Plus, he has a panty fetish. So that's always great. But let's get right into the video. Brook was last seen with Frankie, causing Big Mom more disappointment and shame. I believe that Frankie and Brook had the best entrances of any character in recent memory. In One Piece only, of course, because I don't really follow other manga and anime at the moment. This entrance was so epic that I think it's arguably the top 5 entrances in the entire One Piece story, including fillers and movies. I think it was that good. Brook was slashing up Zeus in half again, and I really think that they should be able to capture a half of Zeus, and Nami would be able to use it and store it in her Klimatact. Obviously, this is with the help of the Sea Stonesmiths of Wano. I really wasn't expecting Frankie and Brook's appearance this early. I was actually thinking that they would appear a few more chapters after this one, but it was a pleasant surprise. It was really a pleasant surprise. And about Brook's possible matchups in Wano, though, I am expecting Brook to handle a Tobiropo level character. He might share a group fight with Kinemon over Sasaki, and I have my fingers crossed for a Brook and Sasaki matchup. Since Sasaki has flame designs on his clothes, I don't know if it would be a one-on-one though, since Kinemon cuts fire and that would be a favorable matchup for him as well. But Brook would be a great match for Sasaki because, as Oda portrayed in the Marineford War, Aokiji and Ace were basically on equal footing. So a Brook and Sasaki matchup would probably be portrayed as on equal footing as well. But for the meantime, since we still haven't seen Sasaki yet, it might mean that he's still tied down just outside the entrance. But I do feel like he's going to be released at some point somehow, and then he would join the fight. I believe that a Brook and Sasaki matchup would be interesting to say the least, and that would be the best possible choice out of all of the Tobiropo members. Other characters that Brook could fight with are Who's Who, because he's carrying a sword with him, so obviously he's a swordsman, and it's safe to assume, probably, that he could be a good fight against Brook. I heard from somewhere about a theory that Who's Who has a devil fruit ability that allows him to transform into a saber-toothed tiger, and I certainly think that's possible since it's something very rare and would fit the Tobiropo ability theme very well. Actually, climate change is one of the reasons believed to be why the saber-toothed tiger was forced into extinction. So, a fight with Brook and his ice powers could be a weakness of Who's Who, giving Brook a definite elemental advantage in this fight, even if he doesn't know hockey yet. But even if it isn't the ability of Who's Who, this should still be a fantastic fight. Now, another possible opponent of Brook is Hote from the Samurai Squad, and maybe other members of it. Since we don't know much about their abilities yet, we could just assume that a lot of the members of the Samurai Squad would know how to use Haki. Maybe not Ryuo though. So it would be a great match against Brook, so he could learn Haki for himself. And adding on to the list of possible one-on-ones are members of Orochi's Oniwa Banshu, if they could grow some balls and stand up to Brook's ghost form. And since the Oniwa Banshu seem to be a specialized group of ninjas, a fight with Brook should be an awesome thing to see, regardless of who has the advantage. Brook's attack should be sufficient enough to beat them, and maybe the next possible matchup for him would be Perospero. They have similar builds, and I'm sure that Perospero still hasn't given up his grudge against the Straw Hats. I think that Perospero is a great match for Brook, because he already knows about Peros Peros candy, and obviously all of us probably have a good grasp of what Peros Peros candy could do. So this could be a great test for Brook, especially because he needs a power up to defeat Peros Pero, and he should learn it during that fight. So Brook should be transcending himself, and should become much stronger after the war in Wano. And speaking of power-ups, I'm really excited for Brook to fight a strong Tobiropo level character. Or even Perospero, because he's basically the same level as the Tobiropo. But this is so that Brook could finally learn hockey, and he could incorporate it into his fighting style. I believe that it is more likely that Brook would learn armament hockey over observation hockey because it would be more useful at the moment. And since swordsmen seem to learn Ryuo much easier than other types of warriors, Brook could learn Ryuo and utilize the added battle strength very well against his future opponents. I wonder if he could transfer Ryuo into his Soul Parade technique. That might help it become more devastating. And as for observation haki, this should nullify the scouting ability of the Yomi Yomi no Mi, but he should still be able to use it to spy on the women's bathrooms just like how Sanji does. And anyway, it should still be enough of a power up to make his fights much easier in the future because he can predict his opponent's moves much earlier than he did before and much more accurately. It's possible for Brook to also get his sword sharpened by the Wano swordsmiths, and he might get a huge power up from that. Because the last time it was sharpened, it was done by the Long Arm tribe. And because of this, he is now able to call on the frosty winds and generate ice. So a swordsmith from Wano could incorporate a weird characteristic on Brook's cane sword. And just to clarify, this weird characteristic is a lot like Zoro's Enma. Every time Zoro makes a slash, it consumes a lot of haki, so it could generate a more powerful slash. And in the case of Kiku, every wound she makes on the enemy, it damages the soul of her opponents. So Brook could get a suitable characteristic from that power up. He could also get a sea stone infusion on his sword, just like how Smoker has on his Jute, because haki and sea stone work differently. So it could enable Brook to deal with Devil Fruit users much better. And as for Ryuo, I don't think that Brook would learn Ryuo right away, because I think that he might have Zoro teach him Ryuo, or he could learn it on his own by maybe observing all of the samurai in this war, so he could master Ryuo sometime after the war, and he has plenty of time to master it if and when he learns and realizes what haki is and how to use it. I hope that Brook improves drastically after the war, because then his bounty could increase to a substantial amount. His bounty might range from 350 million to about 650 million. Personally, I want it to be around 500 million. That might be a small amount for some, but to me, it's still a godly sum. Considering that Law had a bounty of 500 million, as well as Luffy when he defeated Doflamingo back in Dressrosa. So to me, that's still a godly amount, and I expect that for sure. Just because I really want all of the Straw Hats, every single one of them, to get their spotlight, not just the monsters of the crew. And big increases to the bounties of Luffy's crewmates, especially the ones that care about the bounties, would be more than welcome. And it's not like the crew can't back it up. They're strong enough, they're well seasoned, and they have unwavering confidence in what they're doing. They know what they can and can't do, and the biggest reason of all is that they have fun doing it. Now, after Wano, I wonder how Oda would like to end the story, because I feel like he'd still like to try and show that each character achieved their goal. But for Brook, that's an interesting case because the Straw Hats would need to sail all the way back to Reverse Mountain just to meet with Laboon. And I don't believe that there's enough time to tie everything together and achieve what everyone wants to achieve. Because there's a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of motives that have yet to be accomplished, and a lot of islands that the crew have not yet been to. So it would be great to see everyone achieve their goal and for Brook to do another concert of some sort just to mix things up a bit. But that's where we end this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Crush like if you did, as if you were Brook crushing Zeus. Comment down below what you think about the video, what I could improve on and such. And if you love One Piece, subscribe to the channel so it could grow. Hit the notifications button because on the next video, we talk about Jinbei Oyabun. It's gonna be fun and I hope to see you in that conversation. Stay safe now. Peace!